The British motorsport schedule is revving as we take on the FF1600. For real this time, didn't make a mistake. The FF1600 SoF race presented by FILMBIL.NO. First race on this channel is going to be taking us to Snetterton 3 weeks into the iRacing schedule. This is going to be one of the fastest tracks we possibly visit on the entire schedule this season as we run the 200 layout up around the outside of already one of Britain's fastest tracks. Look out for some terrifying passes into possibly the most terrifying corner on the whole service. I call it Nelson. I'll have plenty of complaints about that one later in the day, but I'm not the one on the track to experience it. We've got a very, very talented and very, very fast field out here, 3K SoF, and I'm here with Simon Davison to run through this 20 minutes of excitement.
Yep, you can't get rid of that easily, unfortunately. Snetterton on this layout is one of these tracks that has just a birth of straight into hard braking zones, and those might not always be the most interesting to drive, but they're definitely the most fun to watch, because those are the ones where you get to make some really ridiculous overtaking maneuvers. When you combine these fairly small cars with the amount of draft they're going to be generating, there's going to be some wild moves being made all 20 minutes of this race.
I mean, this channel seems to have a bit of a penchant for low aero, slippy Formula cars. These are some of my favourites in iRacing. I've seen these in real life as I travelled to the Formula Ford Festival at my local circuit, Brands Hatch. And don't you ever complain about the rain when let me tell you that race was sure rained out. But we have a nice dry sunset day here in the UK. And a very, very British schedule, of course. This has included free content, and as I've said, it's my absolute bane for what we're going to see right here. We have the fastest driver on the field, Adam Tonkins, about to take on the sausage curb of all time. It's Nelson Corner. If you misjudged that by just a little bit, that angle didn't sell it, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it was not sold properly by that angle, but if you missed that by even a bit, you are sent into orbit.
The angle didn't sell it, but you could see just how much that car got kicked up in that brief moment. That is an absolutely terrifying thing to do. Sausage curbs in general are a bane to the spines of anyone who's trying to take them properly, because you need to be up close and personal, maybe even ride them slightly, but if you hit them at just the wrong angle, you're getting spat outside of it, no matter what you're driving.
Here we are on board with another driver about to head down this section. Two very, very hard and fast corners. Here's Juan Monroy. I always misjudge the first part. And if you misjudge the first part, you're sent to literal heaven. So, you're just sent to heaven. End of the day, end of the run. Well, starting to get some laps up on the field. Lone qualifying. I always complain that lone qualifying is quite hard to commentate on. Adam Tonkins, though, our fastest driver in the lobby of 6.2k iRating, hasn't successfully set a clean lap yet. Plenty of opportunities to get off tracks around here when you are taking liberties on such fast corners. We might end up having the misery of having to stare at an empty track for 2 minutes. This is such a quick lap. Drivers getting around the circuit in less than a minute and a half on a good day as Anne Medema gets the fastest lap so far. Adam Tonkins looking to try and finally get one on the board at the very least. Will he be able to get this over the line? We can't really tell. We don't get the instant counts. Fraser Smith up with 15.8. I think someone could improve to a 14 if we're lucky. And Adam isn't going to hit... Oh, he is going to hit the board.
No,
in P3. It's you basically like iRacing waits until you definitely think that the lap hasn't gone through, and then it makes the lap go through. Every time.
Still, just P3 for Adam Tompkins there. So he's going to be starting a bit further back than he perhaps want to be.
It's quite a wide spread here. We have 1Ks in the back, 1.8Ks, and 6Ks in the front. All the high number drivers here, the 2, the 4, and the 1, though, have all made it quite far up close. Matthew Breton has really punched above his weight around here. And I thought our race sponsor wasn't here, and then I reread the schedule, and he indeed is. Frederick Soros. That is a symbol, which I'm sure can be pronounced. All right? Can you handle that? Or are we going to have to go with Frederick Sorley? We're going to go with Frederick Thorley.
I don't know how to pronounce that, sorely, as what I would do for it, but either way. And I do believe you're right. We are about to have 2 minutes 30 of an empty track.
Well, the series is brought to you by FILMBIL.NO. I don't have FILMBIL.NO. I don't have something spectacular to put on the screen, but they are stunt driver and film coordinators for the Scandinavian region. They've been in Hollywood movies and TV commercials of all kinds. If you need any recording services related to cars, then they can pretty much provide it, I've been told, whether it's emergency vehicles, stunt driving, or good old commercial running. They are the nice title sponsors of this SoF series, because the other two for the iRacing series we don't speak of. They didn't ask to be here. They're going to have to ask me to be here. There is one more driver on the field, Daniel Tufts.
Oh.
So we haven't quite gotten on board of the rest of the track. So we'll let Daniel Tufts give it a run. It looks like I don't think he'll actually get a clean lap done in time if he's just leaving the pit lane right now.
No, if he's leaving now, he's going to end up taking the green flag at maybe 10 seconds to go, and that's definitely not enough time to complete a lap of this track.
It's all long straights around here, and I mean, we've had some races on this channel that didn't live up to expectation when it comes to the draft trains. This one's going to be very unique because I think the cars are going to absolutely tackle each other to the ground through some of these tricky corners. A lot of 90 degrees around here. They did choose the 200 layout as Daniel Tufts misses the braking zone. Hopefully this doesn't happen to too many people under race conditions, because that's me right there in action. Juan Monroy also looking to try and set a time. He's going to make it through that section at the very least. I do kind of like the 300 around here. I do think it's interesting. Obviously the 100 is just sort of like for a different life. But I just find that if we could let's put a giant like Daytona style banked corner in to replace Nelson, like Zandvoort stuff, and then the track's perfect. In my opinion, just make me not have to deal with it. It gets in my head.
Sorry, when you said Daytona style corner, I thought you meant turn Snetterton into an oval, which I wouldn't be opposed to, but
the rest of this track as character, I'm especially a big fan of the fact that the track's owner named one of the corners after himself. I don't think it's honestly, on this layout.
If you're going to buy a track, I think you should be entitled to do that.
But, I mean, it's MSV. He owns a lot of tracks, and he decided that he was going to name one after himself on Snetterton, of all places. We'll try and quickly get up the starting grid. We don't get much time to do this before the race finishes gridding, so we'll try and go as fast as we possibly can. Fraser Smith on P1 with Anne Medmer on P2. Adam Tonkins on 3 with Martin Arnold. It's Arnoldus on 4, Ian Joyner on 5, Matthew Breton on 6, with Alexander Istad on 7, with Frederick, I'm going with Sorley. He can tell me after the fact that I got it wrong. He's very entitled to. In 8th, Andrea Bellotti on 9th, with Daniel Tufts in 10th, Philip Sear in 11, with Christopher Case in 12th. Can I get another row done? I don't think so. Only Fraser Smith is left to grid, so I'm afraid we're just going to have to leave it at that. But there's plenty more down the grid, and we'll try and catch all the battles on the field as they come. Fraser Smith last to load in. He's keeping them waiting just like I like to do to you in your lobbies. If you're not nice to me, I'll make you wait the whole 2 minutes. This whole top 8 within a second, they're going to be incredibly feisty around there. Fraser's on the front row. We're going to go from a standing start whenever the flagman decides to make it so. And it is green. That's a good launch from Fraser. Much better than Anne behind. In fact, Adam Tonkins might try and take advantage of that as we head into the first corner reaches of the track. It's quite a fast one in these cars. Plenty wide going through turn 1 there. Fraser Smith gets a good launch. It's Adam and Anne side by side. They're going to hold it together, but I think Adam has that momentum advantage. He was faster. He's going to keep it clean out here. Frederick also climbing up some positions. Plenty of battles going on around the town. Let's bring on the timing tower and actually get a look as grass is getting kicked all over my screen and the cars are already weaving to try and avoid this draft effect down this straight.
Yeah, it's just the launch. Tompkins had just such a good launch, but Emma tried to cut across the track. Well, that just left the outside clean for Tompkins to get the clean run through. Now P2 chasing down Fraser Smith. huge draft train, though, is forming behind, but the top three are small breakaways. The rest of the field trying to get together. That's a spinner in the background.
That's Matthew Breton around. Not quite making it. I'm glad that nobody else got caught up in a disaster around there, as I just double-clicked on a random car on the grid. And who is it other than the FILMBIL.NO car of Frederick Soriel? Up at the front, Fraser Smith leads the way. I think that's got to be a very generous off-track around there. It's 1, 2, 3 have made quite a good launch for themselves, and behind, Alexander Istad is much further down. But yeah, you can see the draft train develop, and these drivers weaving left and right to try and get each other out of the air.
You want to make sure you have control of the inside, but you also want to make sure you have the draft of the car you're chasing. So it's a hard thing to do to position yourself in such a way that you can control both, and sometimes you just have to give up on one. Now, these front three have it together. They're not trying to fight each other. Oh, 3 wide is never going to work around here. Huge shunt to, I believe that's Cash.
I think Philip Sear gets away with it, and then it's Bellotti that got caught up behind Daniel Tufts in the middle of this field, led by Martin Arnoldus. Plenty of drivers getting together, no quite disasters yet, but as we see this slipstream just get a little bit deadly. Drivers are really sending on each other in these fragile Formula cars, as that's 2 wide.
No.
Looks like Frederick losing out big time, going wide, misjudging Nelson. The first of possibly many around here. Lots of tight racing between these drivers so far. I don't know where to look.
The good news about these cars is that they aren't exactly built with aero in mind. If you take a shunt on them, you're not going to lose too much overall, but these exposed wheelbases are a little bit of a concern if you're going to be doing argy-bargy side by side. Nose tail, not too much of a threat, but you need to be careful here. Wow. There's a run, chases forwards. Smith still leads. Tompkins looking a lot closer now, though, as he looks right at the tail of Smith.
It's interesting. I want to know how these draft trains actually develop. Let's take a look on board and see how much you quite gain going down the straight. Tompkins, interestingly, holding it side by side for now, not going for that full slipstream. Is there going to be a crazy send? I think he checks up just before the opportunity to make. I think sending it into there is a move I would describe as suicidal, and these drivers are possibly too high skill for that. Here's Daniel Tufts losing out to Martin Arnoldus as the rest of the drivers now flow through this back portion. I swear, that track map was more useful last patch. I will fix its settings, and it will be back one day. It will be back one day. Let me tell you that. I think it's just a bit too small. Top threes have gotten the real breakaway. Now, I've seen drivers in some of these SoF races and some of these cars, especially earlier this week, and the Skip Barbers work together to bring themselves up the field. I wonder if they're going to play that same game between themselves, or whether it's going to be dogfighting.
I think you kind of have to if you're in the position that Joyner and Istad find themselves in here, as Joyner slides through to take 4th place. You're not really going to gain a great deal by just sitting nose to tail or squabbling over position. You just get the move sorted, get the draft, slingshot in front, let the car back in front when they get the chance, and you can really start to gain some time. Having said that, though, they are falling back a bit. The gap from P4 to P3 now 3 seconds and change. They are sliding backwards here, so it's going to be enjoying to try and bring back some of this track position.
I think they are possibly playing a battle game. I know in the Skip Barber at Alton Park, they did a lot of working together. Drivers went all the way from the back right up to the front. I'm not sure it is going to work as effectively for some of these corners, but we may see some of these drivers move around the field. That's Jake Forster getting around Philip Kolodziejski. I'm going to shoot with that one, and Andrea Bellotti gets in behind. 2 drivers going 2, 3 wide all around this track. There are battles everywhere, and we can't quite catch all of them. I think it's going to be tight all the way to the end. Here's Frederick Soriel again, as that is a driver off. That's Alexander Istad.
A lot of cars having issues today, trying to keep your point forward. He's tried to slot in there. As we go to replay, just puts too much pressure on the rears. They just give up on him, and he just goes off the track.
There are 2 filming cars, the teammates in arms. You know, they're proving their stunt driving on the track today. I'm done with the pushes. I just thought that was a funny joke, a very funny joke. So Ian Joyner here, I see in the P4, and then Martin Arnoldus behind has an even bigger gap. This train that was getting up to the front has basically entirely disappeared, and now if you're running alone here, you are very much playing your own game and you're not gaining pace in the wake of others. I think we might start to settle down for a bit, but I wonder if incidents might change out this race or off track from some of these.
Joiners obviously lost the drafting partner they had, so they're going to have to just dig this one on their own. Granted, they look like they've got pace to at least gap on Aldous for now. But they don't look like they've got pace to close on the Smith-Tompkins-Medema train, so I think Joiners just driving to a 4th place finish right now and hoping towards the end of this race, if this front 3 gets scrappy, Joiner might be able to close up and pick up the scraps. But I think that is the best opportunity they have right now. That this race is looking closer and closer every time they come through. Medema sets the fastest lap there on a 14.9. Obviously, they're 4th in line as well. They can just slingshot forwards, so she's going to have all of that run coming towards her, especially on that start-finish. She's definitely got the advantage here. It's just what do you do with it right now?
I'm interested in this top 3 and the way they're fighting each other, because I think the way they drive each other is going to be indicative of how to get the fastest around this track. But we're not seeing the big moves. This hasn't been the overtaking spot I thought it would be. Probably perhaps because it is a terrifying overtaking spot indeed. We got some cheerleaders in the chat for Fraser, by the way. People really want Fraser to hold on to this. Talking about the composure. 3 of the strongest Formula drivers in this series, and if you think you're stronger, head down to this time slot next week and prove yourself better. We could do, of course, we broadcast the iRacing SoF series, so this same time every week. If you're high enough iRating, you can get in on the action and prove yourself. You can join these drivers. This top 3 have been driving with composure indeed. They have been driving very, very close to each other, whereas there's down behind, still lots going on. Still drivers going 2-3 wide.
I think the top 3 aren't concerned about track position right now, other than their literal position on the track. They're just driving to maintain a podium position right now. You can see Tompkins pulling out of line consistently. Meanwhile, the cars in the rest of the grid are happily going side by side through some of these corners, trying to actually get position now. I think there's going to be a flight for the lead. I think it's going to be in the last few minutes. I think right now they're just happy to pull away from Joyner like they are doing right now and just continue to build that gap instead.
My greatest apologies to Anne Medema for calling you she, but I mean the name apparently confused me, sent me for a loop, as it does sometimes. You got to make your best guesses on the field, the SOF field, but don't hold it against me. I'll get you again right next week, Anne. I'll get you again, or it might be Anne even. I don't know the region.
Who knows?
Don't know the location. We're getting tricked. We're getting fooled. Big lineup around these parts of the track. The people have definitely gone single file for a while, but some of these drivers further back, they're going to be scrapping for every place they can possibly get among themselves. They're not thinking about the top. Adam Tonkin sets the fastest lap. I wish I had the picture-in-picture to catch some of this action, because I want to see what's going on in the middle as well as at the very front. This could be the sort of race for people where they wait for mistakes, and a very high-speed track and a very slippery car does like to bait mistakes. We've seen a few already. We're approaching the halfway mark. People have settled into their rhythm. The tyres have warmed up. But, you know, you can start pushing a bit harder and harder and harder and harder. Things get harder and harder. Saw this gap really tighten up at the very front. But still, like, I think I'm being tricked by the draft effect. I'm being fooled.
Yeah, like Tompkins has been pulling out a line consistently and then slotting back in when it comes to take the corners through that section. I do think Tompkins and Medema are just trying to hold station for now. It's a question of when do you actually start to make the move. Because obviously you're not going to pull out of lane early if you're Tompkins and you're trying to make the move. You're trying to build that draft and get the overtake. But that obviously indicates to Smith exactly what you're doing. So presumably they'll change the way they're driving as well, trying to defend there. And there's going to be a guessing game of who does what, and you obviously don't want to show your hand too many times, but you just need to leave yourself with a margin to let yourself make a mistake if you need it.
Fastest
we see further back in the field, a similar thing happening. Jake Forster is in a similar situation with Bellotti and Cash. Oh, and as soon as I say that, Bellotti goes for the dive.
And Bellotti isn't going to make it! Bellotti goes around under their own power, and right behind that's Philip Kolodziejski. Didn't quite see that one coming. How much warning could he have possibly gotten for that one? I have to find out. I don't actually have the events viewer because of a silly mistake I made coming up to now, but that means I can catch replays as I see them, and I have to know that that is the sort of crash that would hurt. There's another meatball out for both drivers. They're going to have to pit after that one. You get a fast repair here, but it pretty much knocks you out of the chase. The tyre smoke's there, but it's sort of the rejoin onto the track. That is a difficult rejoin in reverse, and both cars have very much been taken out of contention there. Yeah, I guess you might be able to look at your relatives and you might think, oh, I can rejoin this, but these people come at you so fast that might not have been very advisable as a way to return, and very difficult to make it up there in time at speeds this high. Top three are getting faster and faster laps. Adam Tompkins now with the 14.7. Hasn't made his move yet, but as we approach the white flag, pressure is going to build among these drivers.
They have collectively put another second on Joyner, who also has put another 2 seconds, I think, on Aldous behind. So Joyner definitely driving to that P4 right now podium as they sat on the grid in a slightly rearranged order. But a very good drive from those four as it stands. Can they hold it together? Obviously, these cars are going to get lighter. These tyres are going to shave off a little bit. The track state is going to deteriorate as they kick more dirt onto it. Can they hold on? Because obviously it's been clean running so far, but once you start trying to move around, that's when it can get a little bit risky.
That's not how you render that. I'm trying things. Every day is a chance to experiment on this. Every day, and we'll hide that. Yes or nothing. Daniel Tufts is also on the back of Frederick Soriol for this P6, and there is a real, people aren't making their moves. I'm getting impatient. We're all getting a little bit impatient around here. People are gonna, as the time goes down, you do need to think, do I do it? We did just see the disaster that just kicked off. You're very right about that. But I keep seeing these gaps grow, and
wait a second, we missed the pass for the lead.
I can catch it. We ain't losing that one. Here it was. I must have turned that transition right off. But here is the Fraser Smith Adam Tompkins P1 overtake. Keep your T-Tools out of the chat unless you play Dota. You wouldn't understand who makes the mistake here. This is Fraser Smith in front, and it's a big overcook onto turn. Just a massive overcook onto a very difficult hairpin. And that's Adam Tompkins reclaiming the lead, and Fraser Smith is going to need to fight for that back.
Honestly, really good catch there by Smith. Just gets it through, gets the car back underneath, and carries on like nothing ever happened. Granted, slots back into second. We've seen how Tompkins drives from this position. We'll see if the two car does anything different. Probably not a massive loss overall for the drivers. They have swapped positions. Obviously, Smith would like to get that win overall back. So we'll see how aggressive he is. Coming through.
As I catch in, we're going to keep an eye on that gap. Put it in purple. That's the best way to keep an eye on it. As I take a look, I see something go less than a second, and I get excited like a child in a sweet store. Like, oh, go look at that one, and I look away, and then they've backed off by the corner again. People are absolutely playing this game patiently. Now, I'm not going to name who called this track Snooserton. They can name themselves, but I'm not going to put someone on blast for that. But part of me has thought, on the 200, people are definitely playing conservative games around here. They're definitely playing conservatively, and they're playing to maintain their own position here and wait for a mistake. That's how Adam got the P1, waited for a mistake, didn't do anything fancy, claimed it when it was opened up. This might just be how this plays out for the last few laps of this race. We're expecting about another 5 or 6.
Oh, we saw what happens when you try and make your move. Lotti taking both himself and Kordiski out of the race with an unfortunate slip in the middle of the track. So you do need to be careful when you make a move. Obviously, if you're driving single file for the rest of the time, you're not really going to know how the rest of the track behaves as you come through. It's going to be a bit of a risk to try and be the attacker in these situations. You can understand trepidation, but these laps tick down. You have to try and start thinking about doing something. Maybe start moving around on your own, trying to figure out where that grip is, how the car actually behaves, because when you need to make the actual move, you need to be certain it's going to stick. We see Foster here, just having a look at the rear bumper of Cash, and they're actually getting on the pack, and I can't tell if that is out of the line. I think it's Tufts, as they're taking all the cars to the inside of the corner.
Doesn't look like, it could have been Tufts up ahead, you're very right. I'm clicking around, I think they filed back into line at this point, but someone did indeed leave the line. They've gotten back in, and not much has moved, but I think it could be that hairpin that claims some victims around here. If someone overcooks it again, that could be the next corner that causes problems today, as drivers are just trying to preserve their own races for the time being and just trying to seize on these opportunities. Still, everyone's been playing very disciplined today. The only real incident was an accident, and everybody, every time they look like they're about to get close, they sort of back off before it gets too bad. You can't really send one up the inside of that hairpin. I mean, the inside's already pre-claimed for you. And we've talked enough about how Nelson isn't working. So it is going to be, but eventually someone's going to make their move. Here's Fraser, tries to get out of line, sort of hits that pocket of air again and gives up on the idea. If you can be inside just before Nelson there, then you can get away with it. But it relies on a lot of bravery and a lot of speed, and these cars have all been set up very similarly. There's obviously very little to adjust in the setups along the way, so very especially nothing in the way of aero. So top speed, everybody's pretty much playing the same game if they're running the same weight in the car. This top three come around, and it should be 5, 6, 7, possibly 3 laps to go. That's the estimation as it stands. If iRacing do indeed add another, we'll have to see when the white comes out. It certainly won't be this time round. Probably it won't be the next. Everybody playing the game sensibly to preserve their finish, I think.
See how early Smith gets out of line there on the start-finish. I don't know what the plan is there. He's happy to give that gap on the entry to the corner. Riches. Play out line early again. He presumably has a plan, because you know these drivers are significantly higher than me in iRating, so I'm going to assume they are sensible to know what they're doing, but I don't know what that doing is.
Saw some position shift around the back, but you know I'm just trying.
Feber and Monet, I think. Monroy, excuse me. Oh yeah, because they're side by side coming through here, which is very risky. But Feber slides forwards.
I can confirm that this livery you're seeing right here, not only is it the default livery that the Ray gets printed in, but the iRacing logo is on the front in real life as well. That is not just iRacing putting their liberties on it. I didn't get to touch it because it was in the paddock, and you probably shouldn't touch a car, but they do exactly sound like this as well, just like the MX-5 sound exactly like they do, as they got to join in on the Formula Ford Festival festivities. An event I'm very much looking forward to coming together again. Doesn't look like the white flag. Fraser Smith only has 2 laps now to make a big move, and we're seeing more movement in line every lap go around. I think someone is going to make that dramatic dive. We could see a few of these running into the end of the race.
And this time Smith stays directly behind. I think the move is coming this time. He's going to stay all the way behind, hold the position as late as he can, dive to the inside now, get the wheel alongside. The call is there. How deep do they go? I don't think Tompkins is fighting this one too hard. Oh, he's trying to stay to the outside, gets barged out the way. Let Smith dive through the corner, slides tight. Contact. Oh!
And Medler, he's going to try and actually take advantage of this. I think both drivers just looking for the same bit of road. It feels like no foul contact, but it's actually Fraser Smith getting away with it. Adam Tompkins forcing his way back through. He has vengeance to get. I think we are going to get, unless sometimes iRacing gives you the white flag comically slow, but I don't think we're coming across for the checkered. This will be the white flag lap. And Fraser...
No, there's the checkered!
That's iRacing's fault. Thank you very much. As the time runs out, and Anne Medmer actually just claims the P2 over the line. I'm not kidding with that. That just happened, and we're going to get the chopper to confirm it.
Medmer definitely crossed the line first there. That is wild. They had no white flag given to them, and then suddenly the race is over.
That's not the overlay's fault. That is absolutely iRacing just deciding that I think I think the lap must have finished so close to the margin that iRacing doesn't give the weight the lap for because it doesn't think it's going to be the last one. And then the last one comes. Fraser celebrates the win. He knows what's come. And Medma does clear it over the line. And Adam Tonkins goes from a definite win to a third on the road after that nasty little bit of contact as the drivers really made their move. It was going to be Nelson where this sort of thing happened, and that is indeed where it has transpired.
It's a beautifully set up move by Fraser to make that happen in towards Brundle. They get a little bit together through the corners, but again, Fraser manages to get the foot down, manages to pull away with it, and just gets enough of a gap, leaves P2 and P3 fighting, and just pulls away to the victory. It was well done, it was well timed, like I said it was going to be, and yeah, there you have it. Fraser Smith, your winner after 16 laps, 20 minutes of racing with Medema and Adam Tompkins running out the podium. Ian Joyner comes home in P4 ahead of Martin Olnoldus, running out top 5. Behind them, Frederick Sawley in 6th, Daniel Tufts in 7th, Alexander Istad in 8th, Jake Foster in 9th, and Christopher Cash in 10th.
Starting in 11th is Matthew Breton with Philip Sear in 12th, David Churchill in 13th, Caleb Fravor in 14th, Juan Monroy, that's definitely Juan Monroy. You got to recalibrate it in your head in 15th. Luca Munro in 16th, Andrea Bellotti in 17th, and Filip Kolodziejski in 18th after that contact earlier on. I don't think there was a third page of results. Well, it certainly did end in explosions. I'm going to get my popcorn bucket and read the Discord after the race, I think. I'll make sure to send you anything good that happens along the way. That was a great race, and we're on this channel now for the rest of the FF1600 season. We're at Alton Park next week. Skip Barber, you just yesterday had a fantastic race here as part of the Super Skippy Sunday series. I can get it out of my head. And now these cars, I think they're going to produce just the same kind of drama.
I mean, it's your classic low downforce, low power, high slipstream, very much on-edge cars that just tend to this more fireworks-inducing style of racing, I feel. It's a great combination.
I'm going to call you out, Fraser, that Fraser is trying to claim that was an intentional lock-up to give Adam the lead. I'm not a believer. Not a believer one bit, even with your winky, smiley face. Yeah, your good looks can't just fool me. Well, yeah, we'll be here same place, same time next week alongside with the Skip Barber SoF and plenty more content on this channel if you subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. I've been Howie Burroughs alongside Simon Davison. And have a great week ahead of you as the iRacing